Today, I want to talk about pizza dough. I'm going to give you the easiest and best pizza dough recipe using sourdough. That way you don't have to worry about with yeast or without yeast. You have sourdough. I also want to tell you about the slightly quicker ready-made options so that you can be sure you're using the best pizza dough for the amount of effort and flavor you want. My name is Heather, and I want you to feel confident in the kitchen and be able to make any recipe your own while having some fun in the process, doing a little dance. First, let's look at what the store offers you. In order of my least favorite to most. First, a lot of stores have already made pizza crust. Just add your toppings and stick it in the oven. I remember doing this a couple of times growing up, but it paled in comparison to getting a pizza delivered, or even frozen pizza. Pillsbury is a little on the doughy side for me, but not bad for a quick pizza dough. My vote, if you wanted to make pizza at home and make it quick, is one of our last two options. A premix and DeLallo would be my choice, or already made dough that you just have to stretch out yourself. But those may be a little tougher to find. I've only had luck at Trader Joe's and Whole Foods. Let's bring our focus now to making a traditional sourdough pizza crust. So, 8 to 12 hours before you plan on eating, start your dough. I'm an early eater, so I know as long as I start my dough by 9-ish, it'll be ready in time for my very early dinner at 5. I know 8 to 12 hours is a pretty wide range, so just remember to start the dough in the morning and it'll be ready for you to use by the time you're ready. The total prep in the morning is less than 7 minutes. I like to weigh my ingredients. They say it's more precise, but really I do it because it makes me feel like I'm on the Great British Baking Show. You use 90 grams of sourdough starter. I will go into a lot more detail about sourdough in a later video. You then add 385 grams of water that is so hot you can barely stand to touch it, but still you can stand to touch it. And then whisk that together with your favorite whisk. Then in a separate bowl, combine 520 grams of flour. I'm using bread flour, but all-purpose flour will work great as well. And then add to that 12 grams of salt. Once combined, I make a well in the center and use a wooden spoon to bring the flour and water mixtures together. I've used a large metal spoon or a regular metal fork. All work the same as a wooden spoon, but any self-respecting recipe tells you to use a wooden spoon, and I hate to anger the bread gods. After it all comes together, cover it in it with a damp tea towel or plastic wrap, or if you have one of the beeswax wraps, you can use that too, and then leave it alone for 15 minutes. I recommend folding the dough twice. The first fold 15 minutes after you've combined all the ingredients, and another fold 15 minutes before you plan on making your pizza. There are two ways I've seen this done, and typically I use the first fold in the morning and the second fold in the evening. I put a small bowl of water near me that's big enough to dip my fingers into so that they don't stick to the dough. The first fold is where you pull the dough away from you and then fold it back over the bread. Turn the bowl a quarter turn or 90 degrees and do that again. Once you've done it 4 times, cover it back up and let it rest until you're ready for it tonight. Changing things up keeps it lively for me, but feel free to use the one that tickles your brain. The second fold, you pick up the dough from the middle, let it droop down, and then try to fold it back onto itself. Then you do the same thing as the other fold, where you give the bowl a quarter turn and do it again until you've done it 4 times altogether. Now cover it up and wait 15 minutes, and then it's time to start prepping our pizza. First, turn your oven to 500 degrees. Yes, 500. And make sure your pizza stone or cast iron grill or cast iron pan is in there while the oven is preheating. You want whatever you're baking the pizza on to be as hot as the oven to achieve an even bake throughout and a nice crispy crust. Pour enough cornmeal on the surface that your pizza bottom will be fully covered. The bigger the pizza, the more the cornmeal. The beautiful thing about making your own pizza is that no pizza need be the same. Make as many as you want in any size and shape. Getting it round takes practice, but an oddly oval pizza tastes just as good as a perfectly round one. Dip your fingers in water first, then break off a hunk of the dough. I hold on to the thickest parts of the pizza and let gravity do the work, and then keep circling around the outside of the dough until I have it almost to the thickness I want, and stretching out the middle if needed as well. And then I plop it down in the cornmeal and continue to stretch it to my desired shape. Once you have the pizza dough where you want it, transfer it to your parchment paper. Do this quickly. I've stretched out a couple of pizza doughs here so that you can see the process. When it tears, as it sometimes does, you can pinch the seams back together once it's on the parchment paper. It's easiest to do this with wet hands. The only rule when decorating your pizza is sauce first. If you want to continue to follow rules, do cheese, then toppings last. But this is your party, so experiment and see what tickles your fancy. Here, I am making a classic margherita pizza. So sauce, a few pinches of cheese, and a slice of tomato, and into the oven. The trick with the sauce is to use less than you think. I made the sauce and mozzarella myself. I have separate videos to give you the best tips to make both of those too. Next, carefully move the parchment to the oven. Once in, be warned, the cooking goes quick. For a pizza this size, it'll only take 5 to 7 minutes. The pizza dough will still be mostly white with some brown spots. That's how you know it's done. And if you press on the dough, you should hear a slight crunch. Once the pizza is out of the oven, tear some fresh basil for your margherita and place lovingly on top. So this right here, this is kind of the color you're looking for. And you can see down here on the bottom, it's not going to be as dark as the top, just going to be lightly browned. So you're not really looking for a ton of color. And then you see we got the little droop, just like we always want, but then the base holds up. So this is exactly what we're looking for whenever we're looking for the pizza. I like to do a fold. I dare you to make your own pizza. Remember, whichever dough you choose, it starts with a bite.